So what are the best airline stocks to buy here in June 2020? None. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to... I'm just kidding. Okay, but seriously, airline stocks have not gotten this much attention for a very, very long time. But ever since the global issue hit back in February, these stocks have been top of mind for retail investors. I've personally made a few dedicated videos at my subscriber request on specific airline companies, and I've really taken the time to look in depth into their balance sheets and their fundamentals and determine if the companies were good investments and could actually escape bankruptcy during their darkest days and come out of this crisis stronger than before. We even had news during this time period that Buffett came out and said he sold his airline stocks and took big losses on these companies as well. It came as a very surprising move to investors and just added fuel to the fire here with these stocks, causing some of them to make new multi-decade lows. And guys, before we move on, if you're brand new here, hit that subscribe button down below. But either way, hit that like button to show your support for this channel because it really helps out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. Now, during the last couple of months, retail investors have been loading up on these airline stocks, while the more professional investors, if you will, have been selling or just waiting on the sidelines for these. But fast forward to now, these retail investors have been rewarded handsomely with pretty much airline stock or airline related stock out there. Delta Airlines here is up 78% off of its lows. American Airlines, another huge performer, up 105% off of its lows, doubling any investment made in this company if you caught the bottom in just a couple of months. United Airlines as well, similar performance, 112% off its lows, again doubling any investment made if you were able to catch the bottom. Southwest Airlines here, which is arguably probably the best financially positioned airline stock, is up around 60% off of its lows. And this is because it didn't really fall as hard as the others, so it didn't really have as much room to recover like the others. And then of course we have Spirit Airlines, which of course was the highest risk play here and has had absolute phenomenal performance here for investors in just about a month. And then of course you have the granddaddy of them all, my favorite play in this space, Boeing, which has more than doubled your money in about 2 months, which is extremely rare to see in such a large blue chip giant. So it's funny because when I looked at the risk to reward when I was evaluating this industry, Boeing looked like the best investment here to me. And I was personally buying this stock, as my VIP group members know if you're interested in joining, link description down below, because I really spent the time to understand this business. And in my opinion, this business is just too big to fail and any risk of bankruptcy was very low, especially when compared to other companies. And really, to buy this blue chip giant and double your money in 2 months is honestly an opportunity that doesn't come along very often. So I'm glad I was able to take advantage of this opportunity here. And really, guys, I want to take a moment to just congratulate any investor that took the opportunity when times looked really, really dark to buy into these airline related stocks. And right now you're rewarded handsomely with gains in most cases doubling your money. So if you held through this, congratulations. It's quite crazy because, like we said, legendary investors like Warren Buffett actually sold at a loss here and took billions of dollars of losses on these companies. But ever since he sold them, initially the reaction was negative. But since the whole stock market has been moving up in the last few weeks, these airline stocks have gotten a massive boost as well. So hey, maybe you could say that you actually did better here on these airline stocks than the legendary Mr. Buffett. But we'll wait and see on the long term how this plays out. But as of right now, retail investors seem to be winning out here. But now the question I keep getting a lot from you guys is it too late now to buy these airline stocks? Have they run up just a bit too much to actually justify buying into these companies at today's prices? I would really say the answer to that depends on how long you plan to hold these companies. Fundamentally, from a high level, we all know that airline travel will be back one day. It will be stronger than it was in 2019, and things will be moving upwards in a strong way. In fact, here's a graph of the trend for airline passengers globally, including the initial projections that were set for 2020 as well, and you can see here that things are very strong. Of course, we know 2020 will not set new record highs here for travel passengers, and will most likely be down to levels we've seen in the early 2000s or even earlier, but the overall trend here, in my opinion, is still intact over the very long term, and there will be more people flying than ever before, because it just makes sense, guys. As the global population increases and the middle class increases, there's more people that have disposable income to actually start flying. We're already starting to see some small stages of this here, with some sense of mini normalcy starting to resume, with people starting to fly again for business, for vacations. But really, this is nowhere near where it was in 2019, as most people are still work from home. Some companies may be flying their employees here for business, and this is helping with air traffic starting to resume once again. And the one thing you have to take note of is this is all done without a vaccine even available right now. So it's quite remarkable. And this, I believe, has contributed to what we've seen in recent weeks with the airline stocks, with them absolutely crushing it to the upside with gains that could be life-changing for some. There's a ton of optimism here with this industry that it's going to bounce back very strong and probably to levels, and maybe even to levels that were back in 2019, so we're not really going to see too much of a decline here. But that would be, in my opinion, the extreme bullish case scenario. My personal thoughts and opinion on this industry is that it's going to take time for things to actually recover and for people to actually feel comfortable and want to fly once again. In my opinion, many people are going to be very hesitant on flying and just refuse to fly flat out, both young and old people, until there is a vaccine readily available and possibly even a treatment that's available just in case they contract the disease. I think many people are still going to want to go on sort of vacations or just trips outside of their hometown. So my thinking is that there's going to be a lot more road trips, kind of, exploring your own country and things around your area, as opposed to hopping on a flight and going to a different country, just because of these reasons that I've outlined here. So really the way I see it is that these airline companies are going to hurt fundamentally for quite a while, and their revenues are going to be down quite significantly for a long time until we can resume 100% normalcy and resume 100% confidence in consumers again. Now, if you guys know me, I'm generally a value investor, and I invest in stocks that I plan to hold for a very long time unless fundamentals change. But I do occasionally invest in non-blue chip companies as well when I feel that the business actually has a huge amount of potential to double, triple, quadruple my money over the long term. Looking at the airline stocks specifically and the industry as a whole, there are four main concerns and risks that I would seriously consider here. The first point is that due to lower travelers in 2019, companies will report less revenues and profits. This could be due to less people purchasing tickets, but it could also be because airlines have to take measures for this and maybe do things like leave the middle seats open and have passengers in every other seat. So by doing this, they're actually going to be forced to sell less tickets on their planes until there is a vaccine available globally. The second point is around debt, of course. The debt that these companies have raised is through the roof, and in my opinion, it'll take a very long time to pay this back. The third is that the companies are reliant on government providing them loans and aid. So if we see a second wave sometime in the fall where air travel is once again grinded to a halt, will the government help them once again? That's a big question mark. The fourth point that I see is that shareholders are not a priority anymore. There aren't going to be any buybacks or dividends for a very long time with these businesses. And for myself as a shareholder, this is not a good sign. So how could I, as a long-term investor, a value investor, justify putting money into these companies when all of these four risks are still alive and well and have no signs of changing anytime soon? But now, if you guys have been watching my channel, you're probably thinking, Nick, you invest in Boeing. Isn't Boeing going through the exact same issue? Well, I would say they're not exactly directly impacted like these airline companies are with this global issue. The reason is because they aren't directly impacted by consumer day-to-day traveling behaviors. The benefits that I see in Boeing are, one, they didn't take government aid, so they can resume share buybacks and dividends whenever they want. Two, they are sitting in a lot of debt, around $33 billion, but during normal times, this company can generate over $10 billion in free cash flow, and they can pay this down quite quickly. So in my opinion, you can take the optimistic case here and say it'll take Boeing 3 to 4 years to pay down this debt 100%, but more realistically, based on their past history, they'll lower this down to around $10 billion or so, where they can sustain the business at that point. If they do this, it'll take them much less time to actually pay down this debt significantly and resume the business to a healthy growth stage once again. The third point that I've listed here with Boeing is that they have other divisions to their business, like defense, which are still extremely strong. The fourth point is that they have nearly 5,000 orders in backlog, which keeps them going for a very long time. With Boeing, I see a few positive catalysts like the 737 ungrounding, which will be a much needed boost for the company. And even though many of their consumers are not buying their planes at this moment or have canceled future orders in some cases, majority of their customers are working with Boeing to figure out a delivery schedule for their new planes. Guys, keep in mind that these planes cost a lot to maintain once they get old. So in many cases, it's cheaper for these airline companies to decommission their existing fleet and purchase brand new fuel efficient planes, which can save them money over the long long run. Now, this is not going to happen overnight. It is going to take some time here because these airline companies, like we saw, have a lot of debt to worry about first. But in my opinion, the core of the airline business is the actual physical airplanes. So they will make it a priority to purchase these new planes as soon as they can, if it means that they can save money over the long term. As of today, I will not be touching any of the airline stocks. It's quite possible that these airline companies continue moving higher. Maybe American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and all these other airlines triple, quadruple your money over the next few weeks. We don't really know where things are going. But I will say this, based on the fundamentals, based on the industry, based on everything we know around these companies, the prices that the stocks are at today, in my opinion, are not justified and backed by fundamentals. Markets can remain extremely irrational, and the number of comments that I've seen from you guys on things like Spirit Airlines or American Airlines, wow, these stocks are up so much after you posted those videos and you were wrong about this and that. Guys, remember, I'm a long-term investor. I base my investments on fundamentals. I want to sleep easy at night knowing that when I buy a stock, I don't have to worry about that stock for many, many years. And airlines do not give me that sort of comfort. That does not mean that there can't be money made in these stocks. That does not mean that you can't quickly buy this stock this week and sell it next week for some good profits. But just understand it does not align with my personal strategy, which is what I discuss on this channel. Now, that being said, if I was dead set for some reason on purchasing an airline company here today, there'd be two that I would seriously spend some time looking into further. The first is Air Canada and the second is Southwest Airlines. Air Canada is the #1 player in Canada, and similar to the US airlines, they have the Canadian government supporting them, so it's a very similar story there. Air Canada, however, has better fundamentals than many of the US airline companies and is one that I seriously look into for exposure here. Southwest Airlines, on the other hand, is seen as probably the strongest US player. They were in the best financial position before all of these issues hit, and they're probably going to be in the best position coming out of this as well because they didn't have to take on as much debt. So those would be the two direct airline plays that I would seriously look into. Alternatively, there's also the JETS ETF, which I've discussed on the channel as a good option, and this is for lower risk exposure to the industry because even if a couple of the airline companies go under, the JETS ETF will still not go to zero because you have a whole bunch of airlines all over the world that build this ETF. That may be something to look into as well if you really do want exposure to this industry. Now, any related videos like the Air Canada video or Boeing videos or the JETS ETF video, all of those will be linked in the description down below. So if you guys want to check those out after this video, feel free to do so. They're all in the description. Now, the last thing I want to touch upon here is about Warren Buffett because many people think that he lost his touch here when he sold these airline companies at some big losses. And just a few weeks after he sold, these companies bottomed out and they started moving higher. And you know that quote you always hear, buy low, sell high? Well, Warren Buffett did the opposite here in this case. He bought high and sold low. The one thing I will say though is that he has the most experience out of pretty much everyone that's watching this video. He has been in the market the longest. He has insights that we don't have access to, and he has resources and connections in the industry to understand it better than any of us here. So who knows what happens? Maybe he is completely wrong in this scenario, but chances are, guys, that this is just a temporary rally in these stocks, and we could just end up moving sideways for a very long time in these stocks until their fundamentals finally catch up to their valuations. The one thing I've learned in the stock market is that things aren't always what they seem, and there is money to be made on both sides of the trade. In this situation, the crowded trade, I would say, one that most people are going into, is buying the airline stocks. And as I see this happening, I take a step further and further back as more people start buying these stocks. My personal opinion is that it's not going to end well here. It might take some time to play out, but I think a lot of people will probably be left bag holding these stocks if they don't understand the fundamentals behind the business that they're buying. But who knows how it plays out? I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comment section down below when I'm wrong. So I'll look forward to reading those comments. But either way, guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and share this with a friend who's also investing in the airline industry. Also, thank you so much for your support over the last few weeks. The channel's been gaining a ton of traction, and we're well on our way for our goal for hitting 50,000 subs by the end of this year. So either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.